Greetings, friends. Welcome to Polarity News. My name's Gold, and I'd like to take a moment to talk about the New York Trump trial. This is the New York City Trump trial pertaining to the porn star hush money payments. And after 2 days of deliberation, the jury came back and found that Trump was guilty of all 34 counts against him. In starting, this is a biased jurisdiction. Trump did, or his legal team did, argue to have the venue changed. This is a biased judge with DNC ties. And there were numerous unprecedented issues with this trial. The charges against him were all based on legal theory. I believe this is the first type of this prosecution that's ever happened. Most of the issues that were alleged were outside of the statute of limitations. They were upgraded all from misdemeanors. So there are avenues for appeal, and most likely it will be appealed. But I would like to dig down into this further. If you're on the left, you probably are celebrating, gloating, joking. That's fine. Take your laugh. Move on. Now, if you're on the right, you might be a little black-pilled, a little doom and gloom. I just want to say that that's not the right attitude for this. In the near future, you might see people with calls to action. I would strongly recommend it against this. I would highly recommend against not protesting this, especially not venturing anywhere near New York. There's going to be a lot of, glowing ones, feds, false flags. So watch what you do and say. If you want to actually have a meaningful impact on something related to this, stick around. I'll talk about it later in this video. But back to the main point. I'm hearing on the left, we've got evil Drumpfler, we've got the Trump pansy, he's dead to rights, he can't run, he's a felon now, or something like that. I don't think this is going to stop his presidential run. He's going to continue. He is the default nominee. The sentencing is scheduled to be just a few days before the one of the RNC conventions. This is blatant election interference, but we kind of have to dig into this. For starters, with Trump being found guilty, I don't think there could have been another option in this trial. There could have been like a hung jury, or a juror might, have not found him or anything like that. But we have to think about the politics in New York. We have to think about the pressures of these jurors. You can obviously say, hey, they're all cowards. None of them stood up against, this obvious political persecution. But you have to think about it from their perspective. They're told to disregard any evidence that might put Trump in a lesser position, like an innocent position. The fact that if they were to not rule him guilty, the left would target them. They probably would have received death threats. They probably would have lost their jobs if the names would have leaked. They were in tough positions, but that doesn't excuse choices they made. But In my opinion, I, well, let's backtrack on that a moment. On the right, we're hearing a lot of people saying this is going to win him votes. Um, this is guaranteeing him election. I'm not so sure about that. If you're on the right, you're already going to vote for Trump. If you're on the left, you've already decided that Trump is Orange Hitler. You're not going to change those opinions. I don't think this is going to increase new voters for Trump. Not that much anyway. It's going to revitalize his base. His campaign donation website crashed from the amount of, conservative, right-leaning individuals donating, because so many people were influxing. But the demographic that I think this is going to be most effective would be those people that are in the middle of the line, or people that have been aggrieved or affected by, prosecutors, lawyers, police. I feel like this might push that independent or even slight left-leaning individual more towards Trump. You're making Trump look like a martyr. You're making him look like a civil rights leader. You're giving a face to what the oppressed individual looks like by the government. You're putting a face on what abuse of power looks like. How much do I think this will translate to polls? I'm going to say maybe 1%, maybe 2% uptick. I don't think it's going to be that many people that are going to be affected. This does give Trump a wonderful talking point in the election to really push criminal justice reform, to really push DA, lawyer, judge accountability. I think that this will be, I think this will just go down in history as a unique situation or a turning point in, I guess, tit for tat, retaliatory politics. Now, I think that's the biggest issue here. You're breaking over 200 years of legal precedent. It's always been kind of the unspoken rule of politics. Once the president leaves, you generally don't mess with them. But this guilty verdict, and especially if when he goes to sentencing, if the sentence is anything other than, like, I think on the low end it might be fines per charge, but I don't think it's going to be that low of a sentence. You've opened the door to Trump being able to, or a conservative administration pushing for prosecution of Democrats. And I think you're going to get a vicious cycle. Now, I don't think the Supreme Court's going to intervene in this. They're probably going to sit back and watch. Because if the Supreme Court intervenes with 3 Trump-appointed justices, it's going to look pretty biased. So I don't think they're going to intervene. So I think they're going to stay on the sidelines unless something really egregious happens. Now, with the sentencing that's going to be coming up, I believe, from what I've read and what I'm understanding, there are minimum and maximum sentences for these type of charges. Minimum sentence could be fines per charge. Maximum sentence could be jail time in the range of years per charge. I think the most common opinion I've seen both on left and right would probably be house arrest. but I don't think it's going to be that light of a sentence. For a district and a judge to allow this case to go forward, I don't see them backing out at the last moment on sentencing. If he is this great threat that these individuals portray Trump as, they are going to go for a full prison sentence. They want him in jail before the election. And if they back down, I think the left's going to revolt. I think cities will burn. I think it'll be a repeat of like the Summer of Love. I think you're going to see a lot of riots. Because if Trump is guilty of 34 counts, 34 felonies, how is he not going to go to jail if you've put out this narrative since 2016 that he is the most evil individual in this nation? That to the left would look incredibly biased. You're going to have to lock him up. And if he is locked up, I feel like that is going to be the push more for the right. It's definitive. I haven't looked at any international polls. I might look into those after this video, might post another one. I'd like to see what other leaders or what other countries are saying about it. Most of them might be just staying quiet. But I feel like this is going to be a push for the right at that time that he is sentenced, and if he goes to jail. Because it's very hard for an independent person or somebody with a little, I guess, honesty, or the ability to admit that they were wrong, to say, hey, this doesn't quite look right. This doesn't make sense. You aren't articulating exactly what he did. He's just guilty of these things, but you're not really articulating the exact thing he did. It's really an unprecedented case. In summary, I believe, this is obviously political escalation. This is, I think, the first step of what will be done to other politicians that oppose the Uniparty, the Democratic, neocon Uniparty. I think this is going to put a risk, this is going to put good people wanting to make change in politics at risk when you can present charges, disregard the evidence, and push through a guilty verdict. So I think we're going to see more political persecutions like this in the future. But I do feel that Trump will be sentenced, will be placed in jail. I just don't see them having the ability to back down and not put him in jail. I feel like house arrest looks optically like it is preferential treatment, especially when this case is escalated to this level. Now, that's my thoughts on this. But if you want to enact some type of change, there are a few options. Obviously, you could reach out to local DAs, local politicians, see if they can maybe put together a list of people that are on the left that they could bring charges against. If they want to weaponize the judicial system, maybe the conservatives should grow up and realize that they are being attacked. Maybe they can pursue that. Other than that, participate in local politics, participate in local elections, learn who your local representatives are. Every seat matters. Find people with similar ideals to yourself. Get out there and canvass for them. Pound some pavement. Go door to door. Harvest some ballots. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends. If possible, talk to your coworkers or schoolmates. You can show them articles from sources like even like CNN or MSNBC. Some of these news anchors are calling out the blatant hypocrisy of what's going on. But you can engage with other individuals. It doesn't have to be an argument. You can just say, hey, this thing is happening. Have you heard? And that might be enough to get them to look into this further. But if you can just get out there and convince one or two people to change their vote, even in local elections or the federal election, it would dramatically help. Other than getting out there, and these are things you can do without donating. You know, even if it was just in your local neighborhood or find one other neighborhood, you know, go door to door. You know, it doesn't have to be an argument. Just say, hey, you know, we support this person. Wonder if we can have your vote. Here's a few things that are affecting it. I have noticed that with the black community, at least with a lot of the individuals I work with or see day to day, opinions have been changing on Trump since 2016. A lot of black conservatives, black Christians, are now unapologetically supporting him now. And these trials didn't have much to do with it. It's the fact that the economy is bad. Things are harder to afford. Wages do not keep up with the rate of inflation. Immigration has a lot of black people concerned. It's almost replacement. That's the way a lot of people I talk to feel. A lot of black individuals I talk to feel, hey, you know, we're realizing we're being pandered to and we don't like that. Now you're bringing in new individuals that are going to replace us as a vote. When they look at like places like New York or LA and you see that these individuals come here illegally and receive benefits, it kind of infuriates people of every race. When we have homeless people on the street, we have families having trouble feeding their children, people having difficulty finding good paying jobs and having, you know, the pride of work where, you know, they can tell somebody what they do and not feel ashamed, or the ability to own a house without having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to afford it. But other than that, other ways to improve. Take care of yourself. Work on your diet. Get a little exercise in. Drop a vice like smoking, drinking, or any other type of addiction. Find a hobby. Find a skill. Improve yourself. I think that would have some of the greatest impact. There are ways to fight these type of things. For starters, getting healthy, living longer, and continuing to vote, getting politically active, and avoid calls to action, calls to violence. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to make posts with the intention of entrapping you, setting you up. Violence is not the answer. Self-improvement, canvassing, building community, that's the answer. And until next time, thank you for sticking with me. Take care, have a good night, and goodbye.